Hello, everybody. Welcome one, welcome all to our regular Monday night streams at 7:30. How are we all doing today? Hope your weekends were great. As great as mine. Hope your Monday was fine. Hope you're looking forward to the stream tonight. Oh, Matthew Dick right off the bat. How you doing, Matthew? You should be doing really well. You're a Hawk, man. Look at that. Massive, massive win against the Eagles. You should be on cloud nine. Why are you pissed off for, mate? Supercoach comes second to your love of football and to your love of your football club, I reckon. So who else is pissed about their scores, even though they finished in top 5%? Look, I mean, what did I end up scoring this week? I know, like, this was a week where I scored 25-67, a top 3% score, but it feels like unders. It feels like unders, 25-67. It is ridiculous. It was that sort of a week. So, Matthew, don't you worry, mate. Just ride the win. Be happy. You guys, no one's talking bad about Hawthorn this week, all right? All the negative talk are about Carlton, about the Eagles, so don't you worry. You're happy. Duke, how's it going, mate? Yes, looking forward to having this stream with you. Causa, 25-45, went up 7K. Yo, that is one heck of a rise, my man. Well done, you. Jono, Yo-Yo, is Clary a trade out? I think he is, Jono. I think he is, mate. It's sad. It's sad. I know. One of the best mids in the comp. One of the best scorers in the comp. We're low on trades. This is the last thing we needed, Jono, but I think he's going to Neil or Laird this week. Oh, look, I reckon it's Laird. I think Laird he looks really good. He's been unlucky in a few games early in the year where he was playing a bit underdone, a bit injured, got the knock to the ribs. He sat out all the whole fourth quarter. Not this week that went by, the week before that. But he looked hungry. He looked really good in this game. Ooh, Big J, take your time, mate. Take your time. Don't worry.
Joe started early today. So, yeah, kind of jumped on and then went from there, really. How's everyone doing? Hope you're good. How you doing, Joe?
Yeah, good, mate. Wearing my Bombers gear, mate. I came into work victorious as all hell.
I would too. You guys put on a good performance this week.
We did. John, I scored 25-88, nearly 200 points alone in the last quarter of the game. Yeah, wow. You must have had, Marshall, Steele, Sinclair. They all went bananas for. Oh, mate, it's impressive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I was very lucky that Steele and Sinclair actually stepped up against, compared to last week. Crikey's. That was a bit of a shocker, wasn't it?
Matthew Dick. Up the Hawks. Bye, Harley. Yeah, you don't need him, mate. You clearly got all the talent you need. But losses because I had Merritt C and changed to Marshall, then again to Walsh, not the Hawks. That's rough.
Yeah.
That's rough.
Yeah, I'll tell you about Merritt, boys. Oh my gosh. Last week I made some stinker trades, man. I made some stinker trades last week. And paid for them, and then, yeah, that's how it is. I think today we're going to do something a little bit different when it comes to actually what we're showing today. We're going to go through some teams. We're going to go through the team sheets. We're going to look at some of the rookies this week, some of the guys that performed all right. Maybe you have to pull up DFS, Joe. Some of the people who, mate, cheese. Don't get us started, bro. Joe's going to go off.
Joe's
going to crack it. You already started it now, and then, oh my gosh, mate.
Cheese, I love you, mate. Cheese. Sammy freaking. But the thing is, we got more hype than his own mum did. His mum couldn't
Did you see his mum? His mum was going off, man. I don't know if you can get more hype than that. She was
sitting down clapping. I'm here diving on the floor. My mum thought I had a heart attack, mate. My mum thought I had she literally went to check up on me. Mate, we went bananas. Oh, Sammy Durham. Yeah, Cheese. You're a legend, bro. I freaking love you, Cheese.
So team sheets, we'll go through the games for this week. We're going to check out a few rookies. Anything else we're going to do, Joe?
You freaking answer people's questions, that's for sure.
That's very true too.
There's a lot of them, especially now with the news about Clayton Oliver. My word,
you hear about Damien Hardwick? That dropped about 20 minutes before the stream started. Good old
Wait,
Damien
what's happened
Hardwick.
with Damien Hardwick?
He's retiring. He's leaving Richmond.
Wait, I thought these guys were joking in the chat about Damien.
No, he's gone. He's going to announce it tomorrow. Apparently, he's done.
Oh my god!
Yeah, it dropped on SCN maybe 20 minutes or so. A media release coming out, and then that's it, right? So,
Causa, I thought you were joking, Causa. After I'm sorry. Oh wow. Yep. Wow, that's insane.
Yeah, 3-time premiership coach. See you later. Apparently, it's a bit of burnout and some other stuff. Yeah, man. It's pretty crazy. I don't even know if he's going to coach out this week or not.
Hey, Hippo. Merritt ended Hardwick's career. I love it.
Pretty much.
I love it. Oh my god, I gotta see this news.
Yep.
Oh. Wow. How does he just up and decide to quit just like halfway through the year? That's ridiculous.
I'm not sure, man. Oh,
wow. Big J is joining Medium J. You're joining me.
Well, you started the stream early, so
you're joining me, mate.
So, I mean, I can start the stream at 4 o'clock, but you're going to join me then. So
join us on the sash, mate. Join us in the sash.
It's never going to happen. Never.
Duke, Neil or Sicily? That's another question. That's sick dog. I mean,
surely you just don't pick. So I'm all for getting Neil. I think Neil's fantastic. He's in my trade plans. Hopefully I can fit him in. But surely you don't pick him up 1 week before the bye. Like, because Brisbane got round 12 bye. Surely you pick up Sicily, who's playing, who's got round 14, unless you're missing out on a few players already. And then you come in and grab Sicily later.
Exactly. And Sicily's role is he said in the interview. And Sicily said in an interview that he's not playing key defender anymore. He's now being freed up to play.
Good. He looks good. I think.
Well, he played West Coast.
Car, right? I spoke to you about it this morning in the car, and I'm like, that's why Weddle's been so good, and why Mitchell's been doing well, and all these other players. You watch them, and they chip past it between the ends on the field. So especially in that back line, he's not just having to be that one-stop player anymore, which is fantastic for the people who held firm, because the last couple of weeks have been very good, but also the people that are looking to bring him in at a cheaper price.
Absolutely. And I'm one of them, especially now with the news of Clayton Oliver. Vinny! Glad I stuck to my gut, went with Butters over Merritt. Gone up 54K, projected with another 45K this week. Look, Butters had a terrific week. You cannot deny it. And Merritt also had a sensational week.
Yeah, you can't really compare the pair, right? Like, Butters, scored 180, and then Merritt scored 160, 62 or something. Like, you're missing out on 10 points there, big.
Yeah, and Butters has the round 15 bye, whereas Merritt's the round 14 bye. It's had you said, "Oh, I'm glad I went Butters over a Will Day," then I'd be like, "Mate, that is
100%.
That is groundbreaking." But like over a Zachy Merritt, like come on, like you'd be super happy if you had Zachy Merritt.
Yeah, I think we're going to address the Oliver comments today as well. We might do a bit of a segment on it.
Yeah, absolutely. Jonas goes, Skinny Bull, Durham, you legend. Lick balls, Tiger. He was even better. He was a Richmond VFL player that wasn't picked up by them in the mid-season draft. We got him, and he shoved it right up the Tigers, and then ended Hardwick's career as a result. Sensational.
Do you think Hardwick would go somewhere else? There's a comment made on just looking at the SCN article at the moment. Maybe I'll just quickly post it in chat. Hopefully you guys can read that. Talking about how the likes of Stewie Dew's contract, even though he's named until next year, would he potentially, be looking for another job somewhere else? I mean, 3-time premiership coach at Richmond. Yeah, the team wasn't that great, pre-2017, but I know West Coast are probably going to be looking for a new coach sometime soon. Heck, Carlton might be looking for a new coach sometime soon. And then we've got Gold Coast mentioned here. Do you think maybe he'll take some time off or take a little bit of time off till the end of the year and say, hey, give me a new job somewhere else?
No, I'd imagine that if he's calling quits halfway through the year, like I definitely wouldn't imagine that he'd be picking up a job that quickly. I think, and if he cites burnout, like he's going to do, like maybe tomorrow in his press conference, and I'd probably say no, he's going to have at least a year off. I can't imagine him quitting now when he's still under contract just to try and get to another club. Like, I don't know. I find it's yeah, I don't think that would be the case. And I don't know, like it didn't really seem like he was giving any inclinations in his post-game interview that in the press conference that he was just going to suddenly drop the ball and go. Like this really is a bombshell and a half. I have no idea what's going through his head. I can't wait to hear what he has to say tomorrow, to be completely honest.
Yeah, definitely.
Because his list,
going to be.
Because this isn't bad.
I don't even know if the players knew that. Like the players knew that it was coming. It might have just been a case of, yep, it announced on, in the media, and that was it.
Like, how would you feel if you're Hopper or Taranto? Like, you've been brought to this club, you've been traded to this club, you asked to come to this club to play with this team, to play for Hardwick, and barely halfway through the season, he bails. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, as Chase says, it's hard to see Hardwick coaching anywhere else. He's too decorated to not pick up another job. That's very true. Yeah, absolutely. He's one of the greatest. He's a dynasty coach. So it's very hard for him not to get another gig. But gee, he must be really sick and tired of coaching for now to have a mid-season break. That's huge. I don't know.
I'll take him at North. He can be a line coach somewhere. That's all right. We need all the help we can get, man. Line coach. If he wants to, if he's burnt out, if he just wants to coach a small amount of people and, no pressure, then I'll take him anytime. I think he's one of the people that worked under Clarko too. So
yeah, he is.
Yeah. There you go. You've got the connection, Joe. Just need the cash. That's all we need.
Just need the cash.
Sign you up for a membership.
Yeah, Duke had Sinclair on the bench because he saw how big Weddle went and is like, oh boy, we got to take Weddle's score. Nick Minute, Sinclair's like, no, hold my beer.
I think I was very lucky. I ended up having Sheasel on the bench this week. So I looped him with, who did I loop him with? Actually, I think I looped him with Weddle this week. I looped Sheasel and Weddle. So that was a bit annoying, but what can you do, right?
Yeah. But what do you think of McAndrew versus Ford versus Fleeton?
It's someone we're going to have a look at today. Put that on the list, Joe. We'll have a few of them. We're going to look at Eddie Ford as well. We're going to look at this mentions Ford as well, but we're going to mention George Wardlaw. Have a bit of a look at him, mate. How good was George Wardlaw this week, Joe? We talked about him on the stream on Thursday. It's like, yep, it's going to happen. But boy, oh boy, I think he was pick 3. I think Sheasel was pick 2. This guy was phenomenal. Doing everything. More tackles than Cripper this week. So, that's saying something.
He popped the hit. Was taken off the field, went back on again.
I thought he's cooked. That's it. But no, worked out all right for him.
Yeah, he's a gun. I told you he was going to be really good. And he plays
a super
friendly game. He's going to play for Essendon, though. He's a diehard Bomber fan, so don't you worry about that. We'll take him off your hands soon.
He's here.
Duke, I'll be going one of Oliver and Ryan to Witts and Cicely or Neil, most likely Sick Dog, or Ryan and Chincotta to Ford or Fleeton or McAndrew and Witts. What do you prefer? So both of those trade plans involve Witts, and he's going for a ruckman, a primo player in that nice juicy buy round.
It's something that's I've been tying up, well, not tossing up. I've been tossing up a little bit myself. I think you're a bit lucky or unique in the situation that you actually got Max Gawn in there. Just having a look at what Witz's break even is. Give me one sec.
It's 95, his break even.
So it's not, it's achievable, right? It's not like terrible.
He's up against Timmy English, and he went 131 on his long pencil.
Well, I'm more thinking next week the DPP changes come, right? So at least you're in a situation where you can swing someone and be pretty happy. I would say generally what you consider to be average ruckman scores compared to like what a Sean Darcy's been doing. the moment. But that round 13 bye, that's fantastic for the likes of him. I know my team's basically stuck because I don't have a swingman anymore. Darcy Cameron's, jump ship. So I'm missing out on that front. But yeah, if you can grab Wits, man. It's going to work out nice for you.
Oliver and Ryan to Wits and Sicily. I mean, you don't have to go for these rookies now. Like, the only one on the bubble there is Fleeton. Ford and McAndrew both have only played one game. So
has McAndrew only played one?
It comes down to a question of, do you like Fleeton over Ford and McAndrew? And I'd probably say no. I think Ford and McAndrew probably have better scoring, especially if McAndrew is going to be the sole ruck for Sydney with the injury to Peanut Laddams. And
is that kind of what's happening at the moment? I missed that from last week.
So Peanut Laddams was subbed out of the game last week, and
is he confirmed to be out for a while?
He had to be stretched off the field.
Okay, so probably then as well, because Hickey's out for a while too.
Yeah, because Hickey was out, exactly, because Hickey came out, Laddams and McAndrew was in, and so now that Hickey's out and McAndrew could be out, it really not McAndrew, sorry, Peanut Laddams, it could just be a solo ruck of McAndrew, and he's a forward ruck. He's got the DPP, so he could be that swingman.
He does.
He does.
Oh, he does too. All right. Well, then they're easy. So if you're feeling a bit cheeky, he might be one you put in. I know he's been talked about a little bit and things like that. He's been put as not the meaty sub, but at least the emergency for the last couple of weeks. So yeah, really, really could end up being a fantastic pick for us.
Yeah, as Corsa says, we've got a broken ankle, so we're looking.
If you were one of the people that had a boost. Definitely not this week, maybe next week. But if you're one of the people that had a boost and had some trades left, then maybe he's someone that you want to have a look at bringing
in. Lukey Donlan, hey guys, holding Oliver through the buys. Wow,
you can 100%, Luke. You can. Yeah, I don't think he's going to lose much money. If you've got cover, if you're worried about the trades, and a lot of people have to bring him back in, right? So you can downgrade him or sideways him to a premium, and then you've got to come up with like 200 or 300K to be able to bring him back. So definitely you can do that. It might even just be a Tom Stewart type situation, only out for 2 weeks and then, back in the team. So the fact that he's played, Melbourne's been very 50-50 on the call as well. From what they're saying, it's like might be a low amount of time that he's going to be out. Personally, I have to trade him, but excuse me. Yeah, personally, I have to trade him. Looking to bring him back a little bit later. But
they're saying that they don't anticipate he will be available in the short term. Like, if he's not available in the short term, then he's going through the buyers for sure.
Well, that's it, right?
Yeah. You can call him Skinny Bull Durham. I will, Jonas. Skinny Bull Durham. That's it. Darcy Moore this week for Sard, I'm looking at, but wish I got him last week. Wanted him all week, but went to Stewart when Duncan went out. Look, Darcy Moore was gifted maybe half of those intercept marks, to the point where Steele Sidebottom after the game said that he was laughing at Carlton during the match.
Mate.
They kept kicking the ball to him.
Going off about it, yeah.
The Carlton fans were going bananas in the fan cams. Like, Sidebottom was laughing at them. Like, stop kicking the ball directly to it. Like, he's not going to get that again. He literally broke the record for intercept marks ever. Yeah. He broke the record. That's not going to happen again.
Well, it might not happen again, but Carlton's going to keep doing it. Something's definitely wrong at that club. I know there's some talk, and the noise and the talk just keeps getting more and more and more and more. Maybe maybe Voss is going to get chopped at the end of the year. I think he's only got a 2-year contract, so it's the smart thing that they've done. They haven't gone out and given him 5 years. Like, I think Eagles are feeling the pain at the moment with Simpson, but 3 coaches in 6 years isn't great for the Blues.
Maybe Stringer and Durham saved Redmond. That was an awful kick into the fourth. Yeah, well, it wasn't just them. It was also big Sammy Draper. He was 1-on-3 there. For him to be able to bring the ball to ground, that was really clutch. And we were lucky, and Stringer was lucky that the ball managed to bounce and turn his way in order to kick it to the top of the goal square. Look, in chaos football, you're really left to the whim of the gods at this point. Like that's the way Richmond have always played. Their surge mentality, surge football, just chaos, chaotic reflex, quickly find something, make the most of every opportunity. We missed a lot of opportunities during the game. Thankfully, we managed to take that one. So there was a lot of good that led up to it. And that's, I think, the story of Essendon so far this year. A lot of good, but the occasional really bad miss, which normally had us punished. But in that one instance, we dodged the bullet. We got the win.
It says the same thing about what happened with North Melbourne and Sydney, right? The game was really close. The game was on fire. One silly mistake. And boy, hand the win to the other team. So I'm glad it kind of worked out the opposite for your boys.
Jeez, man. I really appreciate that. Harry had a huge week with 26-74.
That's bloody fantastic, mate. You must have dodged like all the bad players. I swear these people that I've complained all week, Joe. Ashcroft holders, people got Atkins, people got Humphrey in their teams just on field. The people that didn't go out and stack the forward line or stack the defense and have Mitchell or Weddle. They've still got those guys on field. They got saved this week, man.
That's just the way it is. You see a team playing against West Coast, trade them in.
Well, that's what the feeling's like, right? Maybe I should have gone a bit sneaky and put Will Day in the midfield and then had Weddle on field. But how you gonna know?
You can't. You absolutely can't. But he's not sure what to do with Clary. Look, we're going to discuss the options with Clary in a bit, Harry. That's the $1 million question on everybody's mind right now. What to do with him? Yeah, Cheese Bombers. They didn't even look at the scores. Fair enough. I wasn't looking at the scores either, but I knew that Zach Merritt was on for a big one. The way he was going crazy. Causa, he was on SEN listening to it. Congratulations.
Hardwick was out.
Oh, Jen, she called me Joe. Oh, love you, Jen. Thank you so much.
How did your team go this week? Let us know.
Yes, let us know. The Duke is Cheese versus Duke. Oh, mate, what a matchup this week. We gotta keep a track on that one.
We need to do another group review as well.
Joe, a group update video. Weddle and Humphrey on field was good. Yeah, congratulations.
Yeah, exactly, Corey. That's the big thing.
Just killed it. Butters can be 700k soon. Look, he's already too much for me. Let alone at 700k. So
it's an interesting thing. You hate to come in and have a player get injured, right? But then if you don't own them in Supercoach, you kind of wish it the other way. I don't want Zach Butters to come out and get to 700 or 800k. The boy's on fire, but the second you bring him into your team, you spend all your trades and maybe sideways Oliver to get this player in. He's going to bump himself out of a game. So
I know
it's a tough situation.
Sam Palpepper will collect him.
Owners.
Sam Palpepper will come flying in and knock him out or do something to his ribs. Like it's ridiculous. Like I actually had Butters in my starting team in the preseason. I've always said he's a better player and better scorer than Rosie, but just the value wasn't there at the start of the year, which prevented us from picking him. And everyone was on Rosie. So you almost were forced into picking Rosie just to defend yourself. Jen's another one who doesn't know what to do with Oliver. Yeah. Merritt is a gun. God, I have never loved a player this much since Watson. Yeah, man. Zachy Merritt is an absolute star.
Thinking of Sincotta and Johnson to Humph and McAndrew. Not ideal trading Johnson. No, it's definitely not. But want to get Humphrey, yeah. Well, that's it, right? So I'm in the position where I should have gone Humphrey last week, and then I might have to bring him in this week. I literally might have to bring in the trades that I was going to bring in last week. Oh, man. It's a tough one, but the guy's got a negative 53 break even. How do you not pick that type of player? It's tough.
Yeah.
Hopefully Sard becomes good. Yeah, it's... I wish we had Pommy on and we could talk about Carlton's backline and what's happening with that position. I'm hoping Sincotta comes back into the team just with kind of the issues that they've been having at the moment. Taking him out and expecting things to drastically change, which we saw on the weekend didn't really happen. It's a really tough situation. So hopefully Sard bounces back similar to what you're saying there.
they played Jordan Boyd, and he had a shocking game. So I don't know if he's going to swing the axes and call Chincotta back. I really hope he does, because Saad just doesn't seem to be doing as much now that Doherty's back. And Doherty, where the hell was this early in the year, you flog? Like, bloody hell, he waits until after we trade him out, after he gets injured, comes back early, and then starts dominating again. Like, what the hell, man? Him, Ridley, Nazaya, all these guys that we started, and now all of a sudden popping off. Like, that's so frustrating. You can still get Merritt at 580k. It's going to be tough for people trying to buy his own 620. That's correct, Vin. That's true. But then again, I don't know how many people want to trade in round 15 players. That's the problem. Again, round 15 is a tough one. Shawnee, mate, gave us Big J. What do you know about Eddie Ford? He scored 102.
Mate, Eddie Ford's a jet. We're going to talk about him. Maybe we do a bit of a talk about him now, Joe. If you want to pull up the heat maps. Do you have the heat maps ready to go? So, Eddie Ford.
Eddie Ford.
You got him?
And share screen.
Yeah. Eddie Ford's an interesting one. Got picked up by North Melbourne a couple of years ago. Was one of those people that was a higher draft pick. Not higher, higher actual number draft pick. So I think he was third last or something in the draft of that year. Ended up being a pick in the 50s. And had a couple of games, or had at least one game previously in the AFL, and then been in and out. Has been doing quite well this year. North's VFL team has actually been doing quite well the past few weeks. Didn't really happen this week because we lost all of our good players, but North's VFL team's actually been doing quite well. So few wins of 100 plus. I know last week Coleman Jones kicked something like 9 goals. So it's made a big difference across that board. But been playing a lot of high half forward, and as we can see here, playing on the wing as well. So offers something to the team that we really haven't had for a while, which has been a taller midfielder. So people say he's a small pocket player. It's not really. The guy's standing at 190 centimeters. So he played a similar position. Yeah. He's been putting on a bit of weight, standing at 190 centimeters. We obviously see from the heat map that
he has taller as well every year.
Yeah, getting taller, and he got lighter too. So I don't know. He didn't stand outside. Maybe I don't know what's going on there, Joe. But yeah, so I really think he's going to end up being a player for us for the long term in the team. But similar to how people got burnt with Drury, similar to how people I got burnt with Wagner in my side, you don't bring guys in off the bubble. So people talk about McAndrew, but definitely Ford. If he goes off again, bring him in, because he's not maybe scoring 100. 100 for a rookie price player is hard to get, right? But his numbers were there for this week. His role was there for this week. I think the confidence in the team is slowly building up as well. Obviously, Clarko being out, maybe that's the rebound game. Maybe it's a perfect storm with Sydney being out, a couple of players and then them having a bit of trouble. But I'm expecting probably a 70-plus average from this guy. So if he's playing, grab him in. Just not this week.
For a 123k player, that's sensational, though. I mean, he has 21 touches, more of a handball than a kicker, which is probably not ideal.
I think that was just the pace of the game a little bit as well. He might have got a mark on the boundary and then handballed it off, or being involved in a few more of those scoring chains. But he's not afraid of kicking goals either. If you look at some of his highlights,
he kicked one.
If you look at some of his highlights, he's definitely doing quite well. And only 64% time on ground, which is humongous. 100 for a 64% time on ground. It's pretty good.
That's insane. Yeah, he's really good. He's one that I'm definitely going to be getting into my team. Just the question of, do you go early or not? Because the thing is, there aren't many players on the bubble this week.
Yeah. And then that's the problem, and that's kind of why I've decided on Humphrey a little bit more.
Look at Jesus comment. I'd quit if I had to play Mansell. That is a good one. I love Mansell. Cheese. We love Mansell. He kicked it out on the full. He needed a point to at least tie the game. He kicked it on the full. Clarko for Dimmer. Look at that.
Nah, it's not happening, Duke. Not happening, mate. But the way Clarko's doing, hopefully he comes back soon anyway. So
Yes, there's also, as Causa says, there's also Kane Baldwin. Boulders, that was his second game of the season, and good pickup, Causa. I've been really, really happy with this guy. He was brought to us in the off season, not via the draft. We got him for free. I think it was because he had done 2 ACLs and he was originally a forward. And that's where we were trying to play him in the VFL as a forward, get him up and running again, getting him the craft back. But he just wasn't killing it in the VFL for some reason. He wasn't getting that separation. He's very much a body-on-body type of player, but doesn't have the strength in order to muscle players out of the way, like a Tex Walker or a Hawkins, for example. So we ended up actually switching him into the back line in the middle of earlier on in the year in the VFL, and his whole career prospect has changed immensely. He's now doing really well in the back line. He's pinch hitting. He's helping out BZT, freeing up Ridley to do what he needs to do. He's also a great, great ball user. He had 77% disposal efficiency in the rain at the Gabba in a night game. That 77% is actually really, really good, especially given all of the ball that was heading our way. With all their inside 50s, that was a terrific effort. And then an 86% great ball user. He's another one that we can use to distribute off half back. He has done terrifically well. 60 super coach and 76 super coach. You know, obviously it's not screaming, breaking the house down, but he's playing in the back line. He's not flying anywhere, playing back pocket here in this case. You know, like the ball was living in our back line against the Lions. So he got a lot of supply. He's definitely been very handy for us. Is he going to make immense amount of cash? Look, he might not, especially with, you know, there are some injuries at our side, like Kelly is the one that comes to mind straight away. He's still out of the team. So you know, if Kelly comes back in for a guy like Massimo, for example, or Hind, then you can be sure that Kane Baldwin has got the job security, I think.
Yeah. And you guys need some help. I mean, we're talking off air. We've talked on air. We've talked, you know, in the back rooms, whatever, about how Essendon's backline needs a lot of help. And it's funny. I think Tarrant did the same thing. I think there was a couple of other players as well that, you know, former key forwards in that position go back and then do really well. Kind of the opposite to my check. Just before we get a special guest on, you might talk to us about.
Oh, Luke, thank you.
Luke, thanks, mate. Had a beer at Melbourne Marvel Stadium, mate. I have not been to Marvel Stadium in a long time. Joe, we have to go back. Let's find a day that we can go to the footy. We're going to go to the footy. Sunday or a Friday, we're doing it.
When do we play? Yeah. When do we play you guys? It's really soon, isn't it? Essendon versus North.
I think it's coming up soon.
Isn't it like not this week? It's like next week.
Maybe.
I think it's like next week that we play you guys. We got to go to that.
100%. Let's do it. Yeah.
And for any viewers who want to meet us there at the game, please let us know. Yeah, Sunday, 4th of June at 4:40 p.m.
Okay, we're locking it in, Joe.
Next Sunday. Yes, yep. So there we go.
Next Sunday. So exclusive. I know I just cut Joe off. Exclusive. Next Sunday, Joe and I are going to be at Marvel to watch North and Bombers. I'm probably going to get smashed, but we're still going to have fun. Not me personally, but North's not, you know, if we can put up a Sydney type performance, we're doing quite well. Yeah, really, really happy. Come down and watch the game with us. It's going to be fantastic. We might go sit up in the bleachers somewhere. Is it an Essendon home game or a North home game, Joe?
It's a good question. Essendon home game, I think.
Essendon home game. All right, cool. So we'll be sitting up the top somewhere, unless we're standing around.
Yeah.
All right. Good. So, guys, we've got a bit of a special guest coming on at the moment. You know him. He's been on the show before, and his coach has been sacked. Or not sacked. He's just declared that he's leaving because they're not winning any more games. I don't know what's happening. We have Big Swizz. Oh, we have Swizz on. How you doing, Swizz?
I was just actually listening to that. Essendon North, just because obviously my wife with Essendon, I'll probably be at that game as well, boys. So I think, I know I don't actually have seats with her, so I might come and join you lads to that. I'm 99% sure I've got nothing else on that day. So
we're doing it.
Yeah, I think that'll be happening. Yeah. I was actually in my my Man City gear celebrating our victory in the another league title, and then my phone has just gone absolutely crazy over the last hour. I think, like on Twitter, it was about an hour ago, but I had a few messages just a little bit earlier. It's amazing how some of this stuff gets leaked. And yeah, you have your people who are inside sources in clubs and involved and that, and obviously people know people and that. I don't know if I like it so much when journos break, but this stuff always gets out. And it's so hard these days. They kind of nearly whoever's making these decisions needs to announce these ASAP, because unfortunately it all gets leaked these days. But yeah, massive news coming out of Richmond with Dimmer to step down, and pretty well much as and we know my, well, it's not hatred of Essendon, but it's just I've been stirring the pot obviously on socials and that, going, how does he come back after losing to a club like that? It's just,
well,
see
he's
you
not.
later. Sorry,
That's the problem.
But yeah, no,
without
it's huge.
Without Parrish,
yeah, I know.
without Shield,
I know.
like bro, like our midfield was like completely decimated. Zachy Merritt was like the equivalent of 4 people, and then you've got, what was he called again? What was he called, Jonas? Our good friend, the Skinny Bull Durham.
I know. Richmond VFL player, and I think it was in that pre-season draft. We were actually looking at taking him on the mid-season draft, and you guys had the pick before us and took Durham. So I think we ended up taking Matty Parker off the top of my head. So yeah, I knew we were definitely looking at Durham. Just on the chat, hey Jen, thanks for the shout out. And well done to I don't really like cheese for the donation to you guys. Awesome work. However, yeah, no, it's just huge news. Anytime with coaches, I was getting a few messages today to do with potentially Carlton and Vossi, and how that may play out. Maybe not necessarily Vossi, but maybe could be terms with a high-profile player being either shopped around, or even an executive on the board there might be. There's always fallouts when, and it doesn't necessarily have to be the coach. And I was listening to like SEN. I don't tune into it as much as I probably used to, but it's, yeah, I was having a good listen to them, and I forget who it was. It might have been even David King today, and he was saying about the domino effect. Whoever doesn't go early, or if it maybe even the case of maybe Port Adelaide, for example, they were talking about this morning. Might have been Bucks with that one, saying if they don't re-sign Hinkley quick, maybe another club's going to get their claws into him. And if they do, this whole domino effect happens. Or if another they'll say maybe it's, let's say the Suns or the Blues were to move on their coach, do one of them already have approached Hinkley, or then all start going through the process, and then it makes other teams jump or get fidgety about it. So it looks like Richmond have been the ones to jump first, and maybe it's not Richmond, but maybe it was just Dimmer himself being, obviously he's. Maybe it's just the exhaustion of it and everything, and you can see sort of the form. You sometimes know when you've lost the players, and there's a whole lot of reasons. Like most people know, like I've stepped down as president of my cricket club and our coach, and we've had a few people step down, and and us it's a little bit different because we volunteer. But at the same time, there does become a point where it gets a little bit harder to get up and do everything that you've been doing for so long. The players, you can see, would prefer a different voice after a while. And there's still a lot of, like, it might be 80% of the group still listen to every word you say, but there might be 20% that, they get a little bit tired of saying the same thing, or hearing the same people speaking all the time. And change naturally happens no matter in what organization. So, he's done very well, 3 premierships, had your ups and downs and stuff, but as a supporter, I'm wrapped with everything he's done. But it's always hard to keep going when, success isn't coming. So it'll be interesting firstly to see who steps in. I know who's the former Blues coach that we've got there as the senior assistant. No, it's Carlton. I'm thinking former Carlton coach who
Brendan not Bolton. You got Bolton.
No, you need the Collingwood assistant coaches here, Jeremy.
Teague. I think it's Teague there. So it'd be interesting to see. Yeah, Teague. So it'd be interesting to see if he's the one that steps up, or if somebody else in the ranks takes over as that. So that's the first thing.
Carlton's
and
not playing
then
Richmond, are they? Because that'd be hilarious.
Richmond are playing Port, so
okay.
get on
but
us.
like if Teague coaches Carlton, so Teague coaches Richmond against Carlton, how's that going to work out?
Yeah. So get on us this weekend. We're an absolute, we're a Monty against Port Adelaide. Yeah, Monty. It's
Sean asks, is it true Hardwick ran out of Supercoach trades?
Yes,
so
yes, 100%, 100%.
He wanted to get rid of Mansell, but couldn't. He ran out of trades. He's stuck with Mansell now for the rest of the year.
Oh, that's great.
It's a really tough situation. I know. Just going back to your point about like there being a bit of a scramble for coaching staff. I know that was the case with North Melbourne. One of the reasons why we let go of David Noble kind of in April was just we're behind closed doors, had been talking to Clarko a little bit. And then, one coach leaves and then another coach leaves. And you don't want to be the team that gets rid of their coach in September. And all the big names have already been in talks with other people for 3, 4, 5 months. So, it's a really tough situation for some clubs.
I talked about this.
Are they going to get rid of people or are they going to try and hold their coach?
I talked about this recently on our podcast and saying, there's people still get surprised about come trade period that, these deals get done. Oh, they must have got done just in like when trade period opened. Yeah. And clubs are talking to other players like 12, 18, 24 months out. No different to coaches, assistant coaches. There's always discussion. It could be just something simple like, Joe and I catch up for coffee. Hey, Joe, do you want to, what would you think about changing? I do it from my cricket club point of view, but it'd be like, how would you feel about, maybe come and play, or are you happy? It could be just something simple. And that's what ends up happening when, I've been in that situation and you're just kind of chatting as mates and that, but deep down you're like, oh, well, I'm kind of just prod the question. And then it goes from there. So it'll be interesting to see, like a lot of these assistants come in and not necessarily want to make a lot of change, like Ratton on the weekend. However, some of them come in and they are trying to, advertise for that job. So they might make changes around. And if they are, do they look long-term? Do they look short-term? So how that plays out for Richmond and who, maybe gets on the chopping block now, i.e. Jack Rewalt, Cochin, and then does that open up spots like we've talked about preseason, Steely Green, a couple other rookie players. So do they now get opportunities come after, say, the bye period that they may have not under a different, going in a different direction that Dimmer would have gone. So, from a super coach perspective, it does sometimes open up opportunities. And we saw that with North on the weekend. Like all of a sudden, Eddie Ford comes in. Now, maybe he would have played anyway. I think George Warlord definitely plays because the kid's a jet and was always prime for about this time of the year. But maybe Eddie Ford, maybe not as much. And all of a sudden comes in, plays a really good game because different coaches like different players. And I've done it as a coach and a president, and even as a school teacher, like people always ask me that, did you have favorite students and stuff or favorite people you've coached? And you don't naturally try to, favor people, but there's always people you like and connect better than others. And it'll be no different with Ratton and whoever the new Richmond coach is coming in and have their people that they resonate better with and want to give opportunities to. So for us super coaches, there could be some definite rookies on the horizon for us, which is good. And it's timely because we haven't had many. So that will be interesting.
I think one of the things in Ford's case was kind of the fact that we had so many injuries the week before and had been doing, quite well in the VFL. So, I'm expecting Cooper Harvey to come in as well. So he might be another rookie that cements his spot in the North team. Kicking 4 and 5 over the last couple of weeks.
And we don't know that answer if Clarko was in charge last week, if he would have played Ford or would have he played Harvey or not. But clearly, and sometimes the assistants spend more time with some of these players. And we've seen that in the past where all of a sudden they take over and go, well, I've been spending all this time with this kid. I like the look of him. Let's give him an opportunity where it may have not been there or may have not been there as quickly as it was. So, there's 2 clubs definitely there. The hard thing for us is we've already traded out our pick to GWS this year. So the actual, it's all chips in, which I think was a term from the Bombers on the weekend. It's it'd be interesting kind of what they try to do there, but maybe it is a bit of a refresh or it'll be really interesting what sort of I don't think the lineup changes dramatically this week, but as it, they get a couple of weeks in and more I think after the bye, because the bye week sort of gives them the time to reset and think about what they're going to do more long term. So definitely, I'd be tracking a few of those Richmond VFL players that might be, getting an opportunity.
What would you be feeling though if you were Taranto or Hopper? Well. Sorry, Big Jane. Like if you were Taranto or Hopper, what would you be feeling right now?
Yeah, it's a great point, mate. It's a huge point because you've come on board, and sometimes it's like you're changing clothes because of the coach. It's no different like the North Melbourne players like Griffin Logue, Darcy Tucker, for example, and that they've changed clubs because they've been sold the dream of being coached by Clarkson and that, and it's and even the Blues, it's the same with the pressure on Voss and like Chera, and you've got who was it, Akers, and certain people have come across there,
Sard
and that because that's I think William might have been there already, but the rest of them, and you sold a kind of a message from the president down to the coach, and then that changes. So Taranto and Hopper, though those guys are assured and their spot and they're on big deals and that, but at the same time, it's just the direction now potentially where the club goes, and they're thinking, well, hang on, well, I've left the Giants for to potentially be all in to try to play finals and in a premiership, and now what you're telling us, the club's doing a big 180 and going in a completely different direction. So it will be interesting. Yeah, you're right, Jonas. GWS definitely has Richmond's first round pick, so I'm very aware of that. And I don't regret it at all because it's the whole decision, like the Prestia decision, like pick 6. Would I give up pick 6 for Prestia nearly every year? Like you go through, there's the odd pick 6 where you might, I think maybe Ben King, for example, but on a rookie that you don't know what's going to come out compared to a guy that you do. So Taranto for sure. Like Taranto's going to win our best and fairest.
I mean, Taranto's probably been in your top 5.
That Hopper, maybe not as much, but at the same time, they filled needs for us at the areas that we didn't know, we didn't have. So I have no issue with the decision, and I don't think we're finishing bottom 3. Like that's pretty well sewn up. It's just how low that gets, and it's a bit like the Collingwood situation when they traded out because they knew the points for Dacos, and all of a sudden they finished 17th. But at the same time, you see how quickly that can rebound, and you make some decisions on that. And they got really aggressive with their list. Like I was talking about that with someone today, about how much better they actually are now without Grundy and Treloar. 2 players that love their club, did not want to leave Collingwood, but they were aggressive with their list management, and they look a better team on the field now. And the discussion today was more around Carlton and what they should do with like Cripps or maybe McKay or some, like a couple of those guys on a lot of money. I know, and you couldn't even think about it. But 12 months ago, you could never think about trading out Grundy and Treloar. 2 guys and they don't even want to leave. So there's some definitely disharmony between the coach and leadership players at Carlton. You're not trading out Walsh. You're not trading out the players that have come in, but there's got to be something at Carlton where maybe they need to spread their list a little bit thinner. And does the same thing happen at Richmond now? Is there a couple of players on that list who aren't getting the job done, or potentially you could spread their money? Like, and the discussion with my mate today, which was who's a big Blues man, because he's like, okay, we've got maybe $1 million tied up on Cripps, McKay. So he was using those examples. He goes, well, and you take 2 of the $200,000 players, would it be beneficial to have 4 guys that say $600K, a bit like the Collingwood situation now with McStay and Tom Mitchell and Bobby Hill and all these other guys that come in, play their role, and they look a better team. So like I think a few Carlton supporters would have a heart attack with me even just mentioning the fact that trading Cripps or whatever, but he's just the one that comes to mind. But it's it's probably definitely not him, but there's probably somebody on that list that it's just hard, because how could you even say Mackay, or how could you say Wiedering, they're too top heavy. And I think maybe that's the same with Richmond. There's too many guys on large money, and then you're playing these guys who are like, $100,000 sort of basement guys, and you might, just spread the money and spread the talent a bit more. There's always a lot of these discussions. So it depends on, it'd just be really interesting as a footy fan. I'm interested to see sort of how all these clubs sort of manage their list and manage their coaching situation going forward. Corey, that's a great question. Corey, yeah, I've heard this. So I said this the other day on my channel. What the news I've heard, it's still Sydney 1, Richmond second, Essendon third in the race
Please
to
come
Himmelberg. I don't see him staying at Giants at all. That's just the new and the very limited news I get from about GWS. And it's hard with like.
Is that just because like it's coming up to this time and he hasn't recontracted, or is there been some talk?
That seems to be it. And just a little bit of the talk. As I said, I don't get as much news about the Giants, but there just seems to be the talk around, the fact that, if players haven't re-signed at this time of the year, there's usually a good reason for that. And those clubs seem to be the most into him as well. We've always seen, there can be always left field decisions and players. You're more of a chance to keep a player that's already at your club if you can, change things around. But all the word seems to be, that he's going to one of them. Now, does the Richmond coaching situation completely change things? And if, say, Sydney continue to lose games, does, Essendon become a more viable option? If they're clearly looking for a key position. Well, they're more key defender. Richmond's looking for a key forward, and Sydney's probably looking for a key defender, which Himmelberg can definitely play both ends. So, that's a real interesting one. I think that's one that could dominate the trade period this year.
So premium, man. A lot of teams need them, and he's going to be very, very cheap. Well, not cheap, but he's going to be probably around that 500 to 600K mark, unless there's a real bidding war. And we saw how dominant he was. He's got a great mark, and those intercepts just come out.
And that's what I was saying about instead of the $1 million guys. If you've got $1 million and a $200,000 guy on the list, is it better to have, say, 200, 500 to 600,000? Good. It's and Jonas again. And I know we're talking a lot more footy talk than normal Supercoach talk here, but John, you're right. Justin Longwheeler has definitely changed it around, and it might be just a situation like he did it probably early in the season, but some of these decisions and some of this sort of game plan changing can take 5 to 6 weeks on the field. So the Blues could be in a heavy training period trying to get themselves right for after the bye. But maybe it's just a little bit too little too late for them situation. But we've seen Geelong do that in the past. And compared to preseason, the coaches get all the time in the world to work out new game plans and that. Now, Carlton's game plan clearly hasn't worked. There could have been injuries that have affected that. And so they've had to change on the spot. But they might only get an hour or 2 hours on the training field, a week to implement these changes. And it's probably taking Vossi longer to get it through to the Blues. And that's just going to, delay. Like, it doesn't happen overnight. Like all these game plans we saw with like Richmond in their 2017 premiership year, like they went through a period with lost some games and came home like football brilliant. I think in the last 5-6 weeks and then into finals because they changed their entire forward structure, their ruck structure. So it might not be all lost for Carlton. It's just how long it takes for this new game plan. And we saw it at Fremantle, and they look fantastic now. They're more free-flowing. They're scoring. Sarong and Brayshaw, from a Supercoach perspective, look really good in that midfield. And well done to people who have jumped on both of them. So, there's always trends and there's always, changes.
But you can see with Carlton, though, that there was that discussion. There was almost like a debate, was it at halftime or something between Cripps and Voss, trying to talk and pointing at things. Like it just didn't look like they were on the same page. And when your captain is not on the same page as your coach, who's coaching you from the boundary line, it just screams that it's really tense. People aren't on the same page. They're not together. They're either not bought in or not understanding the game plan. And this is all just eating away at their confidence. They're not playing. And, you watch the Blue Abroad, the fan cams, and the overwhelming sense that all these Carlton supporters were having was that they're playing without a soul. That it's a soulless place. They don't know what they're doing. I think the issues go very deep over there at Carlton, whereas when you've got the likes of Freo, they've shown that they're capable of moving the ball faster. That's what they were doing last year. I don't know why they really changed up their game plan this year to have a lot more methodical, slower build-up. And the Carlton's just completely gone off the rails. You guys are still trying to embrace your manic, quickly move the ball forward at all costs. It unfortunately led to a mistake from your guys. Like you kept turning the ball over in your forward half, just kicking it to Ridley, kicking it to whoever was intercepting. Jack Rewalt, why did he soccer it on the ground straight to Ridley?
It works. It works
just
really well to get ahead in that. But we've shown, I think it's what are we, nine losses and 3 draws when in close games in the last 2 years, and it's because we don't have that switch to slow the game down, and we keep playing that frantic footy, which is helps you beat teams like Geelong. We actually match up really well against them in the way we play. But we saw last year, even the situation, we got 3 goals up for Geelong and they came back and beat us. So other teams are never out of the game, but then we're probably never out of a game either. It's just there's no sort of game plan B, C, D. I find it's all manic pressure. It's all manic pressure and manic move the ball forward, which is frustrating. A couple of the Supercoach questions have popped up, and I'll answer the Samson Ryan one. I would hold on for now. It just interesting to see what happens. Like, it's just a real unknown. So you probably may as well try to probably keep him to his bye. A couple of people asked me about, say, Chandler about this last week. Now I traded Chandler, but these sort of rookies who are still scoring well and that are playing. So I don't see Samson Ryan getting dropped. So you may as well keep on. If they drop 15, 20K, big deal. Like, points on field are going to be important. Like we've seen Clary now go down, like players are dropping like flies. So there was a bit of the only reason I got rid of Chandler because I was getting Zachy Merritt last week. So that's a decision I'm happy to live with because obviously,
the 160.
But if you had a different player, like some people, I was like, I've got McKenna to do it. Great, do that. But some of these rookies that are playing, that's fine. Global is asked about Bailey D. And yes, definitely. I was a bit more negative on him last week, and even till halftime, I think he was only about 40. But once JJ went down, and JJ's been fantastic in that halfback flank role, it's all Bailey's again. So he at his price, and I think his break even's only about 20-ish, maybe something around that mark off the top of my head. So definitely somebody that worthwhile considering. And I know I was considering maybe Sicily, but there's some value players, Bailey D and Ollie Wines.
Bailey's
two
about
definitely
28 break even.
Yeah,
28.
I knew it was quite low. So, and I think after this week they've got the territory game. I think they've got 5 games in a row at Marvel. You can maybe correct me if
that's correct.
I'm wrong there.
5 games, then SCG, then another 3 games.
Yeah. So it's
UTAS, then another Marvel game.
It is definitely. So I was considering Sicily, but because I've got the cash to get Simpson now, I don't know what I'm going to do with Clary, but there is potential there that I can bring in maybe a 420 guy or something. And if it's he definitely is somebody I could consider for that backline spot because he's got the ability to just go nuts. And even I know somebody had Caleb Daniel, I think, playing my wife's team this week, and he scored 140 because again they changed the structure because I've had an injury go down, and they actually now look a bit like the Bulldogs how they should be playing. Old Magneto's playing his team how it should be, and look what happens. They win and win easy. So if anybody's can tag Luke Beveridge in this to sit there and go, look what happens when you play McRae and Bailey Smith and Bont where they're meant to play. And I think it was what was it, something like 10 or 11 dogs turned up on the weekend.
It's ridiculous. There was this demolition. My word, they just completely crushed Adelaide. They were really dealt a reality check, huh?
Yeah, exactly. To Jai and Clara, and I'm sure you guys have touched this. My first initial reaction was, "Oh, Clara, you're out of my team. I'm trading you." But it's made you let the dust settle and you have a bit of a think about it. So it's probably only this week because the person I wanted to trade him to was probably Lockie Neal, but then Lockie Neal misses the following week. So that's 1 week I don't have him anyway. Round 13 I can cover him, and I'm going to find a way to get Lockie Neal in anyway. And then round 14, Oliver's going to have his buy as it is. So is it really costing me to trade him out? Probably not, unless it's like for like and it's another round 14 player. And that player, unless I thought maybe it's say Sicily, and I think Sicily goes 130-ish, then it's maybe a different story. But some of these rookies now actually look half decent. And if I can get Simpson up to somebody, as we said about Ballydale or another sort of one of those sort of rookies off, and I can still loophole your Bailey Humphreys and your Weddles and Mitchells and stuff for those last couple of rookie spots, then I'm not. I can probably carry Clary through that. it's just, I guess it's just the information about how bad it is. But then he tried to train today, so you think it can't be that bad.
It's so
There's some
ridiculous.
insane.
photos of
How can you have it? He's not going to be available in the short term.
Yeah.
And
Anybody know those? Anybody knows that photo going around? Was that him at the Pokies today?
Yeah, him at the Pokies.
Yeah. It was him at the Pokies. I absolutely love it.
He had the compression.
Somebody tell me where it was.
On.
I'll go down and interview him. That's amazing. We used to have it at Crown all the time. You'd have players jump in on their days off. A lot of players used to have, especially bye period. We used to have it at like the Tuesday night during bye period with our teams. Like every player used to come through into Crown and stuff, which it's fine. They're allowed to life. They're still, as long as they're not doing like out to 3 a.m, getting absolutely hammered and stuff like that. Players are still allowed to go out and wives and girlfriends and mates and stuff. So most of them are actually really, really good. I always say this: 90% of players are really good, and I've had my got on my high horse about probably the especially about the 5% who can go get fucked. That's one way to put it. Mind the language, but that's like every industry and every group of people. So you get that. So that's it. So will be interesting.
How long has Mr. Stettis put out with his stub toe? Look, it's not a stub toe. He's got a fractured foot, Jonas. Like, I get it. You're upset with him. I get it. But he's a human being too. As much as he's said a goat, he's still a human being. He got his foot stomped on. I think it's still to be confirmed, to be honest. But I think I read somewhere that he's looking at around 3 to 4 weeks. So, I don't think we're going to be rushing him back at all. We're very conservative at the Essendon Football Club under Brad Scott this time around, so it's really good. We're not having players with soft tissue injuries getting recurring all the time. So it's amazing what happens when you have a proper coach. You know what I mean? Like, it's unbelievable. Swizz thought on bringing in Humphrey or Kennedy at M8 this week.
Humphrey's still got a great break even, but it gets to the point where I'm like, how much have you completely missed a player? Like, because every week it becomes less and less what you're going to get out of them. Yeah. I know Kennedy, like, I was obviously out playing cricket on the weekend with JP. He's pretty big on Kennedy. He's a Blues man, but they're just struggling so much. Like, he's got at least the rollback. But our worry was, once they subbed Hewitt, does that mean Kennedy's a sub candidate for other weeks? And I think if there's a way for you to get up to, say, maybe a Wines who's more reliable there, like, I think Wines just screams value. Was he 420, 430, something like that? And I've been saying it for the last 4 weeks. Every week they're just putting his time on ground's going up slightly more. His CBAs are going up slightly more.
Has he been injured? Yeah. And that's why they're managing him a bit.
Yeah, they were managing him, like working him into the season. So that's the obvious one, because he can go on runs of 110, 115 over 4 to 8 week periods and that. And it's not about people go, oh, he's not going to finish top 8, top 10. Couldn't care less. It's what they're going to average for these 10 games of that. And it's if you can get a player like he's a former Brownlow medalist. I know people have been talking about Fife, which obviously he's a 2-time Brownlow medalist, champion of the game, and that. I like the price. Probably I can see why, but obviously the body's a little bit different compared to, say, a Wines, where Kennedy, it worries me a little bit more. Like, I think he's a good player and definitely got the role in there. And somebody I've looked at, but once the Hewitt last week and the way they played around with that, I was just like, I don't know if I can do it anymore. That just worries me. If he's and Anthony's put up there, like, Wines at M9, like, we probably get in that situation where we might able to have a loophole player between F7 and M9 and that. And Wines is a perfect guy to kind of one of those loophole guys, like those who have kept Horn Francis. He might end up that guy as F7, M9 going forward, because he's a guy that can throw up the 120s. I've used I think I used Luke Parker in that role last year, and because we saw on the weekend, like, he can go big some weeks and some weeks he doesn't. So you like those guys who can become that M8, M9, and you get a bit creative as the season goes on. So.
Absolutely.
What's Jen asking there? Hollands?
How much cash does Hollands have? I think he's just about maxed out, isn't he?
I think he is too.
Maybe like 5K. Like, he has to score like 70 plus, I think, for him to start to hit 300K. He's currently now on 282K. So look, if he has a good game. He has to be. He's break even 67, going up
Yeah,
against
I don't
Sydney.
see him going more than that. I think it's time to
Yeah,
probably move him on. And there's at least options now. Even if you hold for one more week, if you didn't want to go early on Wardlaw, but I think everyone's going to get Wardlaw, and this kid's a jet, like an absolute
He
superstar.
looked so good, man.
But what was
So
it
good.
like? I had the stats today, how many CBAs he had. It was just ridiculous. Like first game in,
He's a
throw him in
midfielder,
there. Yeah,
He's a
but
midfielder.
sometimes they work them in, and I'm trying to go through all like my 3,000 messages people are sending me here on social media, and
he had 56% CBAs.
yeah,
You're the resident
Yeah.
Richmond man.
18, yeah, 18 CBAs he did on the weekend, and that so compared, there was only Simpkin and Phillips that had more than him. Which just shows the faith that they had him straight away. So he's coming out teams even at that more higher price. So I know it doesn't make you as much money, Jen, but 100K Holland's down to Wardlaw, it's still 100K, and you're going to have a guy through the buys who potentially could be a 70, 80 average, and that if not more. Like it's just Ashcroft really, but more an inside bull. So
100%. Will Charlie Constable ever get a game? Veerfield disposals last
dominating
31, 8 tackles, 6 clearances, 28, 6 tackles, 5 clearances, 31, 5 tackles, 10 clearances. He's never going to get a game. Like, if he can't get a game with that output, clearly he's like assassinated someone related to Stuart Dew, or he's I don't know, like what the hell he could have possibly done. Like, he's clearly done something very, very, very bad.
Yeah, that's it. Like, they are dominating their VFL team. Surely at some point they've got to go, got to get this guy in again. He'll play again at some point. It's just when is the question. Hopefully they're kind to us and it's around the bye period. Just waiting for that moment, which would be perfect.
Yeah, exactly. Jeez, what are your feeling on Phillips, Big J? Why can't he score more than 70 even with the CBAs?
I don't know. It's a weird one. Just looking at his stats now, like he's got the roll, as you say, and he's getting the CBAs. Maybe it's just a handball to kick ratio. He's always been someone who's been really good at like a link-up player. So maybe that's just the situation. But yeah, I remember him and Wardlaw and a couple of others were doing quite well up until like the halfway mark. So maybe the game just got a bit tough, and then like that's just what's kind of happened. It's a weird situation. I'm glad he's going to be playing, and he's probably, if fit, going to be playing a long time. But it might just be a case of if he can get those percentage numbers up by another 10% or so, he's really going to start cracking that big number. He's due for a big game, which is one of the best things about him. I know some people in the chat have held him for a while. I know some people in George's Discord have held him for a while as well. So, yeah, I think that's just what's going to happen.
I think I'm just getting news. Apparently, it's going to be Andrew McWalter potentially coaching us this weekend. So I don't know if that's been confirmed by anyone else, but that's the.
So I don't know that name.
That's coming through in my messages. I think he was former Saints player, off the top of my head.
Really? A former Saints player? Wow.
Is he one of the head coaching staff there now? Because we haven't really heard.
He must be. He must be.
It'd be weird to like not have someone else and then have him.
Yeah, well, that was just what came through on a couple of my messages there, Richmond coaching staff. I'm saying that without fact checking that, as it sometimes comes through.
Samson to Stew.
Yeah, Andrew McWalter's the assistant coach, midfield coach. So, but then this hasn't been updated because it's still got Kingsley there, which would not surprise me in some of these websites.
Yeah, but Anthony's going Clary to Zeret, Samson to Stewart. Confident in my cash gen to get Clary back. Got Ashy, Ratkins, Humph, Weddle. Oh, he's got all of them.
Hey, Anthony, you don't need to worry, mate. Your team's on fire. Can we swap teams? That's what I want to know.
What the hell? You've got every single gun freaking cash gen player in the world. Oh my god! Congratulations, Anthony. And he's got 162K in the bank. Kudos, mate. Kudos.
Beautiful.
Yeah, Joe and I were talking off air about how hard it is when you have such a bad starting team to kind of come back. And, I know that I've had to make a couple of interesting trades along the way. And look at Anthony, and it's like, mate, your team's just flying compared to what we've got at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. If Gorn doesn't get forward DPP, I'm in trouble. We'll have to trade it. Look,
I'm pretty
it was
sure
a really
he is.
bad game.
I think he is. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like
he's about
Walsh. I think somebody
35%.
just asked Global about Walsh as well. Yeah, no, I think that I'm pretty confident both of them are getting it.
Let me just see. There was something posted in the Discord about it. One sec. So it's looking like numbers at the moment. Track 29%, Gorn 35, McRae 40, and then Walsh is 34. So
35 only for Gorn. Oh
Yeah.
boy, that's cutting it really close.
yeah, so if Grundy was out this week or something happened, Gorn's not getting it, and then Walsh is 34. So it's going to be an interesting one this week and next week. Might be a bit of pressure on Walsh to play more pure mid as well with Carlton's kind of poor form.
Well, that's it. But they seem to prefer him coming off from half forward and impacting the contest from there. But yeah, something might need to change. Hopefully he picks up dual position, and then second half of the year he just starts playing more centre bounces.
Yeah, that'd be the way to go.
Imagine the media talk about Dimmer if Sayers did not come out and say it back to Boston. Oh, mate. We'll talk, Blues fan. Don't worry.
100%.
They'll still talk. You're kidding yourself if you think AFL media are going to be like, oh, Sayers said that. No story here. Come on, man. Come on. It's Carlton. Of course, Carlton and Dimmer. These are topics that will get clicks. Don't you worry about that. Uze in for Richmond? Look, Adam Uze just seems to be that guy who puts his hat in the ring for every coaching job.
Like GNC or Kuza, right? Every year they come up for all the coaching jobs, and they've done something wrong because it seems like they're getting blacklisted.
Exactly. Yeah. So,
Corey, I'm with you, mate. Ashcroft 2 weeks ago. Ashcroft and Wilmot I traded in the same week. My team has been in trouble ever since it happened. Not even just losing like those two in their resident cash gen, but losing all the midfield. I mean, I got stuck fielding Harry Sharp last week. So, and Simpson. So it's a tough one, man.
It's very bad.
Congrats to those people that have held Ashcroft because he's going to be $450K. So, yeah, there you go, Anthony. Someone's listening, right? Get the cash gen in, and then we're good.
So Anthony, no, mate. All we can do is give the advice, tell people what they should do. If only I listen to it as well. But I don't.
Me too,
I like to help. I help other people. I don't help myself. You know what I mean? Like it's just selfless Joe. Round 15 buyers are the reason I can get Walsh or McRae. Okay, look, if you're getting Walsh with the intention of DPP, then he's only on 34% right now. So he has to be 35, doesn't he?
Yes.
So right now he's missing it. He's missing DPP at this point. He'll have to play a lot more forward this week in order for him to get to be eligible. Do you reckon Magneto is going to play McRae in his right position from now on after he saw what happened on the weekend?
Yeah, you'd hope so.
I mean, let's have a look at the Western Bulldogs.
Well, it's like what happened with everyone getting Bont last year, right? We all got him round 12, and then you went back to scoring massive numbers. So maybe Beveridge has come in and said, "Yep, you guys need a bit of a cheeky pod. Grab McRae in the forward line in Supercoach." I know that he likes his super. I'm just making that up. I know that he likes his Supercoach, so maybe he's come in, done that for us in Supercoach, and then go from there.
550K Jack McRae, like, what the hell, man? That is juicy. This guy was like almost 700K at the start of last year, was it? It's massive fall from Gaze. Rodney Constable not even being named as emergency.
It's rough, man. It's really tough.
And then you can't trade him because I get asked that all the time.
Yeah.
It's like he's break even. You just can't, because the moment you do, you know
Yeah.
what's happening. Murphy's Law gets put in,
Yeah.
and it's just gonna destroy you.
Exactly, 100%. Jennifer might hold on to Oliver and do only one trade with Hollands down to Wardlaw. We'll leave her with 14 trades and a boost. Congratulations. You still have a boost, Jen. What I would pay right now
Good,
to get
Jen.
a boost, I'd pay
Smart.
real money for a boost right
Not
now.
even a boost. Just give me some more trades. I'll be happy.
Everything
I'll
but
pull
her
out my-
Collingwood top, but she looks right on the money there, Jen.
Yeah, absolutely. No one can be perfect, mate. It is what it is. Sammy on my bench last week was Davey on my bench playing. Alan Davey, man. Look, he's playing games.
What a flop.
I had someone message me the other day. It's like, I think when Sheasel had his bad game, traded him out to one of the defender premium. I think it may have been Sicily at the time, and then watched Sicily like the next 2 weeks went, awful. At least now getting repaid a little bit of the faith, but Sheasel's still going over 100, and there's only like a 20-point gap. So I understood what they were trying to do, but it's frustrating when you do that.
But do you think Sheasel will continue to do this though? Now that Ratton is the coach.
Yes, it doesn't matter.
It looked like he was playing more forward of center and sometimes on the ball.
You know what he did, Joe? He kicked goals.
Yeah, he kicked goals from
both feet. He was kicking goals. He could have had 4 on the weekend. Imagine if Cecil kicked 4 goals. He'd be on 150.
He's the best player, and you just drafted him. Just
so what? It doesn't matter.
He's your best player.
When Rao went to Gold Coast, he was their best player, right?
No,
when
he
Sam
wasn't.
Walsh went to Gold Coast, he was basically their best player. When Sam Walsh went to Carlton, he was almost their best player as well.
Put up by his question.
His what?
So I'm usually never go early on it. I've been burnt once before, and I said I'd never do it again. But he is the one. But he's no. I think it was last year or maybe the year before. There was a Port player where I just got absolutely burnt on it, and I was just going, "You're kidding me." But he is one that I definitely have confidence in going early.
Yeah. So we were talking about it before. I don't know if you caught it. We were talking about Eddie Ford and how well he's doing. And I think he's going to probably lock himself into the position that he did just with how he's going on the weekend. But I wouldn't go early on him because of what happened with Drury and with Wagner and things like that. But Wardlaw, you said, I think you're okay. Yeah. There's no, unless he's injured, there's no chance he doesn't play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he plays in the right role.
Yeah, exactly, 100%.
Play guts. Yeah.
The guts. Anthony's at rank 624 with a captain average of 115. Oh man, Anthony.
Man, I'll take a captain average of 100. No, that's I get it.
My captains have been stinkies, bro.
Mate, I'm the same. I would actually be ahead of you, Anthony, if all I needed to do, like I had going into the round, Humphrey on field instead of Simpson, and Merritt as my captain. And for some reason, I actually thought I had Gould and VC, and then I saw I had Oliver, so I took the 120, and then for whatever reason, I swapped and put Simpson on field. So that 120 point swing puts me 1,040 or wherever I'm ranked, and I would be ranked 500 right now. So it's just amazing. Like one decision, or in that case, 2 decisions, it just cost you like half my ranking. It's so frustrating.
It's a tough one for me too. If the trades that I did last week ended up costing me 160 points compared to what I probably should have done. So it's a tough one. Sometimes you just can't win. These captaincy scores, though, they're really hard to pick. Maybe it's a case of just having to go Ruckman again because Laird's been pretty crappy and then he popped out a 145. Like Dunkley's been average. He did a 153. Like they're really tough to kind of predict. Even a Dawson and a Jack Zeeble and a couple of other players. Like, who's going to predict Sinclair 160, right?
Yeah, well, it's funny because I had Merritt. Once Shield pulled out, I went the opposite to other people and took it off Merritt and said, I'll take the 120. Where others were like, oh, well, Shield's out, Merritt's going to score more. Where I thought, well, there's only one person getting attention now. And
that was my reasoning for not picking him last week.
I thought he's still probably good enough to go like 110, 120. But I'm thinking, surely they're going to lock down on him. He's probably only going like 110, 120. I'll get him in anyway because of the draw coming up. But it went completely the other way. And then he was massive when they needed to win. So
I knew Merritt was going to go
40 points
from early in the week.
Oh, mate, I had it early in the week. But once Shield pulled out.
Because I literally I was messaging him. I think it was literally like on the week before, like on opening, like maybe one Monday or Tuesday. What are your trades? I'm like, well, I'm trading a Merit, and I'm making him my captain. This is before the news of Setterfield, before the news of Shield. I knew he was going to have a big game, and then when the news came out, oh, Setterfield out. All right. Oh, Shield could be out too. Like I knew Shield was going to be out before the last day. Like the writing was on the wall that it was going to be a late out, and the clubs are allowed to do that now. You know, we saw with Darcy Cameron, the late switch,
and Alan Davey too, like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, so the clubs are allowed to do these last minute changes as long as they're named as part of the emergencies. So I knew that Shield wasn't going to play either. So I just thought, man, we're missing Parrish, we're missing Setterfield, we're missing Shield. There is no choice but to have Merritt play in the guts for the vast majority of the game. And that's exactly what happened. And everything he touched turned to gold. He single-handedly owned you guys in the midfield. That was insane.
Yeah. And the big question is too, like I want to bring in Zach Merritt this week, kind of 80K down or 100K down, but fix my trades from last week. And it's like West Coast is notorious for tagging. So
yeah,
is Merritt going to get the tag being the only person in the team? You know, I'm not saying that you guys are going to lose, but he could pop out another a sub 100.
I think Shield will be back this week.
Everybody.
I think Shield might be back this week.
Shield over Merritt.
What's the outcome for the Bombers this week? Like West Coast have just been embarrassed by Hawthorn, tune of 116 points.
Yep.
Like I'm trying to get a judgment on like is it take the 4 points and run? Like everybody's expecting Essendon should just towel West Coast this week. There's an opportunity for percentage, everything in it. But at the same time, you guys were one of the two teams to lose to them last year. So it's always a danger. Like even us, like West Coast were in that game till halfway through the third quarter, and then we've obviously gone away with it. And I think that could be the case on the weekend. It'll probably be like the Bombers win by 6 to 8 goals or something like that. But I feel like the Bombers are in a no-win situation in this game at all, unless it's 80 points plus, because it's just the expectation here is that you just spank West Coast. Every team should be just smashing them, especially because Hawthorn's done it now.
Exactly, it's because of Hawthorn. Like Hawthorn now have applied this pressure. Like they were the 18th team.
Yeah. It's unreal.
You know what I mean? Like bottom of the ladder, won by 116 points. Like, what does that mean for everybody else? It does put pressure.
But Hawthorn's a half decent team. Like their results haven't been great, but we've seen games. Majority of the season they've been competitive, right? So
yeah, but at the same time, there's still like a Swamp put up the stat today. I think you go back to the 1970s. Collingwood beat St Kilda by about 170 points, and that was an early in the season 18th game, and that's so Pies probably lost round 1 and then absolutely smashed St Kilda round 2 or 3 or whatever it was. But then to have a game this late, like we're already at like a third in the season, like round 9, round 10, for the bottom team to actually win by 20 goals, it's unheard of.
Absolutely,
it was a crazy weekend. Like we'll never see this in footy again. Interchange situation. You've got the mark and the goal by the former VFL player for the Bombers there, and the bottom team to spank a team of 20 goals. It's just unreal. And even the point
we're playing them over there this week though. They're like when they play over
they're a
there,
different situation, but
they're an entirely different team.
But it's not like they've got a huge amount in.
They brought all their premiership players back last year when we played them. Like so that West Coast team that we lost to last year was probably like one of the strongest teams they had fielded for that whole year. They got a lot of their major experienced players back, and we were playing under Truck. He's just no good he's a line coach. He's not a head coach. I can't see us losing with the way they are. They can barely field, a full team. They're playing like waffle players, like if you want us, I think about the method. And if we go in there, decide, you know what, we've got a lot of injuries already. Let's not overpress here and just have a professional outing, have a nice controlled win, I won't say no to that. You shouldn't really care what the media has to say. That's just external noise. I'm pretty sure the players within the four walls of each of the clubs know what they're going to go and try and execute and try and do. For me, I'm more worried about the merit tag more than anything, as opposed to potentially losing. But you never know. It might be a week to get Ridley back in.
Yeah, I've seen a few teams do that as well. It's like, yep, Ridley at almost 400k. Let's go.
I don't know how true this is again. This is always happens here until, like, as I said, sources and stuff like that. But somebody was saying Dimmer may have bought property interstate. So it's, I don't know how truth that is. So that may come out in the next few weeks, and that, or everything comes out in the wash. But yeah, we've seen that in the past.
Which state? Is it the Gold Coast? Is it up in Queensland?
So Dake's asking here, is it stupid to get Butters in this week, coming in at what, 620K?
This is a great
with
question.
a break even of 33. So he's definitely going to jump.
Yeah, he is, and he'll get in the 6. Now, there's a part of me that thinks this is Noah Anderson all over again.
Yeah.
Because you look at Butters' scores before that, and it was like 90s, 100s. And like, that's still great as a forward. But is really Butters going to come out and score another 180? Like, we saw Gordon, like, we talked about that. Can he really go 153 weeks in a row? Like, where that's talking, it's not even like Bont does that. That was Gary Ablett Jr. And even the great Gaz wasn't pumping out 150. He might have done it like 2 or 3 times and then have a poor game and then do it another couple of times and stuff like that. Like, we're talking about the greatest ever player. And it's not like he was pumping out 150 every single week. So it's hard to do. And Port do kind of rotate their midfielders around. Now, Butters seems to be their best midfielder, but we've talked about Wines get a little bit more time on ground, a little bit more centre bounce attendance. Horn Francis, Rosie, they still sometimes put William Drew in there to tag, who did a really good job on Jack Viney on the weekend. That was a bit of a surprise too, because everyone thought he's going to either Petrarca or Oliver, but he didn't. So they do have options. Against a Richmond midfield, I think we just saw what happened, and that is probably what people are thinking, going, there is potential for one of the midfielders to go absolutely nuts, and it could very much happen with Butters again. But to play at that high level every week just doesn't happen. So it's hard to predict who's the next guy. Like, he's still going to be one of the top forwards, and I haven't jumped on because my whole forward line is from that round. And I really wish I'd went Butters instead of Canelio at the time, but Canelio is still scoring over, like, still scored 110 on the weekend, and that's still playing the right role. And there's every potential. Canelio comes out and has one of those games. He does that every year, has a massive game. So it's I think we always get caught in this. We go, okay, that guy scored a 180. I need to jump on him. And that's what people did with Anderson, and did with Libar, where you're kind of trying to predict the next one. And that was why I went Zach Merritt last week, because I'm like, okay, I feel like I was still a little bit, as I said, I was worried more when Shield pulled out, but before that, I thought, well, he's the week he's doing it. So you kind of got to think, okay, maybe who's the next player? Like, who's still got the ability to go, 110s? Maybe similar price. Like, do you just straight up go maybe Libba now? If just with the way the Bulldogs are set up, with obviously their injury to Trelaw and their whole setup kind of there, or as you said, maybe it's McRae. Is it like McRae finds that form again and starts hitting? Jack Steele, Lachie Neale might be the one. So there might be other players out there that haven't really spiked yet, or starting to just hit that form patch, that you jump on instead.
Speaking of form patch, if you jump on instead, what about one Mason Redman? Now, his averages in our wins last year were something like 130, and then his averages in our losses were like 60. He certainly loves to play in a win. Now, we won this week. He scored 101, and last week we lost, and he scored 136. So, it looks like that win-loss statistic is not really holding true this year. Now, he's had 2 good weeks, but before that, he had a 76, a 51, an 89, and a 72. Not a very flattering run of games there. but our fixture's starting to open up. In that tough run, we played Melbourne, Collingwood, Geelong, Port, and Brisbane. That's a really tough run. Consecutive weeks of shortened breaks compared to our opposition. But now we've had a game against Richmond. We've got West Coast this week, North next week, Carlton the following week before our bye. Now, for someone whose price is at 471 with a break-in of a 33, I think he could go massive this week. He could go 130 plus against West Coast. Is he worth bringing in, you reckon? Round 14 bye.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, this is the question because we just talked about Bailey Dell. And I was big on this. Like, people asked me about Redmond last week, and I was just a little bit hesitant because there was a bit of rumor going around about his injury. The thing I've always liked about these guys who are out of contract is get on them on their while they're out of contract that year because they always seem to play better. It's just always that natural thing. So I don't mind Redmond because he's definitely the interceptor and the rebounder for 50. And it always seems like Ridley's more likely to always have to play a little bit more lockdown, but as much as he's a really good interceptor. I would have loved to jump on Darcy Moore 6 weeks ago, but this is what we talk about patches. Like, that guy's just had a massive patch. And then some people are now looking, oh, well, maybe I'll jump on Darcy Moore. He's gone the last 6 weeks over 100 and he's had that big score. He could still potentially keep going 100, but he's not going 150 again this week. So maybe it is Redmond because of the games coming up. Yeah, there's going to be some great chances for intercept marks. West Coast forward line's a bit of a shamble. So, yeah, maybe Redmond's not a bad pickup. You prefer the more players that have done it before, and that's why we prefer the Dawsons, the Sicilies, the Sinclairs, the Stewarts.
Even the Bailey Dales, who's actually cheaper.
Because he can he's
cheaper than Redmond.
Yeah. So Redmond, there's always that. There's a little bit of, he's had injury concerns before, and he's not it's not saying he's a proven super coach because he's a very good player, but he's not one of those uber guys that we've been, trustworthy before. However, they do have a run coming up there. He can potentially have a couple massive scores or go on a good run for a month. I just think there's a little bit more value at the moment floating around defense than him.
Yeah, I agree. Global's asking what is the highest ever Supercoach score?
Individual or team?
I think this might be talking individual, perhaps.
Because how the score this week, what was it, 2,900 overall? So I can answer
monster.
So I can answer. I think I can probably answer both of these. Now
29-12 this week.
Yeah, so my highest ever is 29-27, which was last round of 2019, and I was 190th for the week, just to show how crazy the scores were that week.
Yeah.
So the week before, the week before that, 2 weeks before that, I was about 16th for the week, 1,600 for the week, and I scored a 2,500. So about the highest score that week was about 2,700, and that's full premium team. But last round, everyone went crazy, and I think the highest score that week was about 31 something for the weekly winner. Yeah, it was like absolute crazy round. Because I think I remember I was looking at my team going, how could have I possibly won the 2K? And I was like, no, there's nothing I could have done because the winner was that far still ahead of me for that week. So that's from a super coach team perspective. And then I think individually, like Jonathan Brown had a ridiculous game one time. I know there was it Jack Darling or somebody in like under 18s had like a 300-point game. But I think Jonathan Brown might have had like 256. I feel like that's the most. Yeah, Jonathan Brown 260 odd. Somebody's saying there. Corey's saying there. Mm-hmm. So yeah, definitely. And there was some crazy. I think that last round may have been. I feel like it was Nick Rewalt's last game. He kicked 10 or something stupid like that. That's always the ones like in those last rounds where there's teams that are playing for nothing and they got teams out retirement. Like I was there for Roughhead's last game. And where he kicked, 7 or 8 goals, like getting on those guys. Jack Kennedy last year, another great example. Like it's amazing those full forwards, those last game, they just feed. And nothing better than bringing one. Always, if you can keep one trade free for a guy that's retired. So this year it might be Hawkins or Jack Rewald. Hawkins more likely to play finals, so it's not going to more be him. But maybe say Jack Rewald last round or second last round. They give him because I think we might play Port away last round, so it might be the second last round, home game, retirement game, and they'll just feed him. So it's those sort of moments where if you have that last trade, you can bring someone in because they always seem to go like 180, 200 in their retirement game. It's just this golden rule in footy. Oh, well, we'll let them have a massive game to go out when we won't put the attention into them.
Yeah, exactly. What's his face? Someone was asking here. I was asking that it was captains are hard this week as our loophole is early in Madden.
Oh, so unless you've got Constable or half a dozen other dead players on your bench.
Like, yeah, exactly.
I just actually looked up that. That's not good for you, Big J.
No.
I was actually more looking about the Rewalt situation. We played North Melbourne second last round, so that could be Jack's retirement game. Where
it wouldn't surprise me.
Let's get him 10 goals. This week, interesting because of those loophole situations.
Not too bad.
Steele could be a good VC this week.
Yeah, I'm considering. I'm actually considering Sinclair as vice captain this week, playing that second game. But I think Steele might get like the Connor Nash tag. Someone's getting the Nash tag this week, so it's either him or it's either Sinclair or Steele. One of those two are getting it. Hopefully the form's back and they can pop out a half decent number for us. But one of those two is definitely getting a tag. So kind of pick the one that isn't. It's kind of the way to go.
I don't mind.
Or if you've got Petrarca, I think Petrarca's going to go huge.
I don't mind Jen's thinking. That
Marshall into Bond. I think you have to have a VC on Stewart at home against the Giants. Surely.
Yeah.
I don't have him, so bugger Stewart.
The problem is having the loophole, Joe. Like a lot of people don't have.
You don't have a loophole after
that game.
Constable.
Well, maybe Constable. That's if he's not playing.
Some people don't have him though. Like Madden.
If you do, but
the set.
We're gonna have Drury, mate. Drury's gonna get dropped for being such a shit spud.
Maybe. North's probably got a couple of good ins this week, so we'll see what happens with that.
Could be Drury. It really could be Drury. Drury could actually be dropped.
I would have said Rosie against Richmond, but Richmond are winning this game guaranteed now. It's footy low, footy law. It just happens.
Nah, North Melbourne lost this week though.
Yeah, but it wasn't a sack coach.
True.
And did North lose?
Neither is Richmond. Richmond's not a sack coach either.
Did North lose? Like, can we really say North
did?
Lost that game? They didn't lose that game.
Scoreboard at the end of the game was North Melbourne not winning. So
they take that game to keep their chance. See, that's Hawthorn. That's how you tank. That's how you tank Hawthorn. You go, no, we're going to win this game, and the admin and the coaches go, we're not missing out on this kid. Just stuff up the interchange bench here.
The Harvey Reid got on the phone.
Did you see TDK
I'm not going to Perth
in the VFL? The guy kicked the ball backwards.
Into C Stewart. Wow, Anthony's gone full C on Stewart. I like it. He's backing in his boy against the Giants at home. See, if you got Stewart, you have to have him be involved in your plan somehow. Stewart at home is a glorious sight to see. I'm going to VC him. But who do I captain, though? Could be Dacos at Marvel, as Sean Baker's going to be doing, or Corey's going to do Merritt into Dacos, but don't have a loophole to do it. But don't have Drury, so won't be able to do it. Yeah.
Like, it's hard not to just straight up have my captain as Merritt this week. I know Jimmy's probably going to him, but it is hard not to.
I think it's O'Neill, not Jimby. O'Neill's the one who's been running around and
but Jimmy's like a tackling machine.
Anderson,
they'll put Jimby with somebody.
Yeah, Jimmy just tackles. Like, he just runs around and how can I beat the tackle record this week? Oh, I'll give it a shot. Yeah,
it's been working out for them.
It's amazing.
Actually, if they get pick 1, 100% they're going to trade it for multiple picks this year.
Oh, 100%. I've been saying this for the last couple of weeks, people, because everybody knows how much I love the draft and stuff like that. So there's a centre half back from Western Australia, likely to go top 5. Like, a lot can change until the National Carnival, but he's in that mix about top 5 at the moment. And they did it last year to get Jimby and Hewitt. And I think the two most likely. So you got Melbourne, who will have the 3 picks, but they don't like sort of where they sit because it's too far back to get them. The one that they're really interested in is the Bombers, because with the thought that if Parrish was to be traded out, because that should get them another first round pick, and the Bombers might be able to do a 3-round thing, and maybe it's for pick 1 and a future second or future third or whatever there. So that's, I've heard from a couple of people that are reliable in this space that there may have been discussions around that. So it'll be interesting. Even do like say Hawthorn or the Giants with, and I think somebody put it up before, and I forget who talked about the fact that they'll have their pick and Richmond's pick, and they showed last year that they don't really want the more players, they just want the higher players. So they did it for Cadman last year. Do they trade at the moment? I think it's pick 4 and 5 up to 1, just so they can get Harley Reid into their midfield, and then that suits West Coast.
I could see North Melbourne trading pick, like if we get pick 2, trading that to West Coast and saying, hey, we'll take pick 1, we'll give you that pick, and then Port's number 1 pick. I can this still year, say see you later.
I can still see North finishing bottom.
Yeah, well, if that works,
because you still got to play West Coast over there later in the year.
Interchange again. Let's go.
Yes. That's if you're a North supporter, I don't think you really care. Like, as the competitive losses throughout the season, and bring in Harley Reid with Wardlaw and Sheasel and get around them for the next few years.
It's always been this year for us has always just been a development type year, really. What can we do? So, yeah, it's an interesting question.
Track Libba, Sarong or Neil to replace Clary?
Well, Sarong's apparently supposed to go massive for the next 3. Someone was saying on Twitter, so maybe he's one. I think Neil, you can wait on him just because the bye round's coming up around 12. So you'd hate to bring him in now and then not get 2 weeks out of him. Grab him round 13, 14 if you want. Track looks very good. I don't think he's really taggable, and he seems to be one of the guys who's going to get a lot of points off Clary not being there. And Libba's just doing Libba things, really. So I think it's more the bye round for me for Libba than anything else. When does Sarong... Yeah, so maybe... if I had to rank them in order, because Sarong's got round 12 bye as well, it's probably Sarong first, just capacity of scoring wise, then Track, then Libba, then Neil. It's probably the one. Neil's a bit flaky because he's had a couple of good weeks, but before that, he's been absolutely shocking. So we'd hate to say bring him in and then come out with a stinker again.
Yeah, I trust Libba in terms of scoring, to be honest, because we know where he's going to play. I know he plays for Magneto, but Libba in the mids is a guarantee. Like, and we said it, we spoke about it in the preseason that the biggest beneficiary of Dunkley leaving was going to be Libba. And that's exactly how that's played out. Anthony Sinclair dropped a 160 against Saints. Ziegler dropped a 170 something on Saints. I think Sicily is an easy VC. Saints give a lot of scores to defenders, so I like the Sicily VC. Yeah,
it's not, and definitely somebody I'm considering bringing in. He's in my short list this week of potential people to bring in. And usually when I bring a player in, I usually try to make them VC. Goulden's not a bad one either. Like, we didn't get it against North last week, but we saw what Goulden did in the preseason. Surely Carlton don't let him do it again. But that Swans midfield is still without Mills this week. So one of those midfielders is going off.
I think Chad Warner went big last week, didn't he?
He did, yeah. So maybe it's Goulden, maybe it's Parker this week, but one of those 3 are going off. So potentially Goulden could be the VC again.
I just confused you lot, but it's all right. It's okay.
It's all good, Anthony.
Spray shot Optus looks tasty, but after bye, we'll decide between him and Sarong. Yeah. Is Brayshaw officially back? Do you think the reason why Brayshaw wasn't scoring so well was because of the reports that he was playing injured, whereas now he seems to be over that pain? Or do you just think that they've had a couple of good weeks and it's not going to be consistent moving forward?
I get that a little bit, but I think he's a bit of a flat track bully as well. I'm big on that. Like, you look at his scores against Bed, and that's no disrespect to Geelong in any way, but Geelong were ripe for the picking this week with the midfield they had, and didn't surprise me at all. Brayshaw went nuts. The week before against the Swans, against a good midfield, what did Brayshaw go? 88. So Sarong is a more consistent performer. I don't think I can trust Brayshaw enough to go with their draw coming up. And they're playing better footy, but he's not. And how much does, if Fife is fit and playing around that ball, how much does that affect Brayshaw's scoring as well? I'm not convinced about Brayshaw. I think it's up and down with him. You're going to get good scores. You can get terrible scores. I don't want to ride that wave. I'd rather ride it with someone else.
Yeah, definitely. Especially
Jen,
with Neil and a couple of others being around.
Jen, I agree 100% again with you. You speak a lot of sense.
Well, they both play that same game, right? So you got to pick. You got to pick either Sicily or a Marshall or a Sinclair.
I don't mind the Marshall. It's probably, that's what my first initial thoughts was like. Oh yeah, maybe cheeky VC Marshall this week. The only worry I could potentially see there is because Marshall's been a little banged up. If they're going to win easy, do they maybe sub him off or rest him off? They were happy to throw Kamamiti into the ruck on the weekend. So do they, if they get 10 goals up, do they go, okay, we don't need to stress about you? But in saying that, they do have to buy the week after. So, it's not really that big of a deal. So maybe it is fine for Marshall to play out the game and dominate. Yeah. One of those days is going to go berserk.
See what happens. All right, guys. I might have to head off.
Yeah, I'm about the same.
All right. Thanks everyone for joining up. Thanks Fizz for coming on. We've got our live stream up on Thursday, guys. So stay tuned for that. We'll try and have some extra uploads throughout the week as well. So getting back onto that train. Team reviews for Joe and I over the next, probably today or tomorrow. So should be lots of fun.
Yeah.
If you have any
thanks
questions,
for having me on,
shoot us on Facebook. So
thanks for having me on again, guys. I've been trying to do my Thursday night after you guys. So I know a few people have been saying it's awesome because they used to tune into SEN and the footy shows, and now they do send a bounce and then they come onto mine. So that's brilliant. Yeah. I'm actually out Thursday, so I'm going to actually do it tomorrow night. I'll be streaming tomorrow night. So check us out there. I'll put out a tweet on that. Kev, good man. Yes.
First, guys.
Thanks for joining.
Make sure you head on over Supercoach Insider 100. He's going to be doing his stream tomorrow, not Thursday night. So changing schedule. Make sure you tell your friends.
Going to Once the Musical. So I was looking at my diary going, oh yeah, I've got something on this week. Yeah.
Ask him all the good questions.
Kev, yes.
Kev! What am I? Chopped liver or something, mate?
What about medium beard there?
Jeez, Kevin's just ghosted me. Oh, jeez, all right. I see how it is.
All right.
Good man.
Catch you guys. See you in the next one.
See you guys.